The Harry Potter series has already gone down in history for its memorable characters, a fantastic magical world, and a nuanced take on the fight between good and evil. However, the first Deathly Hallows video game will go down in history for another reason, being one of the worst Harry Potter games ever. Fans will be sad to hear that buggy and boring gameplay are paired with a baffling game design, meaning that this is one adventure that Potter fans will want to save their cash on.
Tonight, I will kill Harry Potter in person.
For those of you who don't know, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is based on the movie, which in turn is based on the first half of the last Potter book. Harry, Ron, and Hermione have left the safety of Hogwarts to destroy Voldemort's remaining Horcruxes, which are little talismans that harbor Voldy's snaky soul. The game tells the story through cutscenes, but you may quickly find yourself lost if you don't already know what's going on. You see, the game constantly interrupts the plot with unrelated side missions that you can complete in any order you want, which isn't that great when you're trying to tell a cohesive story. In terms of graphics, this is not a great looking game, but it's not bad either. There appears to be a filter that makes everything look grimy. Instead of being atmospheric, it just sort of looks muddled and hazy. Character animations are all over the place. Lip syncing can be atrocious, and certain character models look a little funky. Except for Hermione for some reason. Luckily, the music and voice acting is pretty good. It may not be the original cast, but they do a decent job with what they have.
I'm your master now, creature.
Unlike past Harry Potter games, this is much less of an adventure game and more of a third-person cover shooter. Yeah, you heard me, cover shooter. Now, this isn't a bad idea at all. In fact, a more action-oriented approach seems appropriate, but there are a few big problems that hold it back. First of all, there's not a lot of cover in the later levels of this cover shooter, which is sort of a fundamental problem when enemies keep respawning to ruin your day. Secondly, once you find cover, it's hard to aim properly thanks to a really wonky camera. Thirdly, throwing grenade-like potions doesn't work that well, so you'll often find yourself tossing powerful explosions at your feet. And finally, it can be really hard to know where you're supposed to go. There's a spell that points you in the right direction, but it's a pain to activate in the middle of battle. All of this adds up to one frustrating experience. Also note that there are some terrible difficulty spikes in the game. One minute you're doing fine, while the next an army of Death Eaters and Dementors are headed your way. They aren't exactly the most cunning foes, but they do respawn constantly, making parts much harder than they should be. On the plus side, there are a good variety of spells at Harry's disposal, and fans will get a kick out of seeing them in action. But with that said, I found myself just using Stupefy over and over. It may not be the most powerful spell, but it is the fastest, and all you really need against these brain-dead opponents. In addition to the cover shooter portions, you can also put on Harry's invisibility cloak during certain stealth sequences. This changes the game to a weird first-person perspective. Since your view is so narrow, it's really hard to see around you, which makes it difficult to sneak around properly. Overall, it's not very fun. Speaking of controls, the Xbox 360 version does have Kinect-enabled challenges. These on-rail segments are actually pretty good. The game moves you forward automatically, and you can cast different spells by making different arm movements. It's a little limited, and sometimes the wrong spell activates, but overall kids will have a blast with this part. It's really some of the most fun in the game.
Hagrid! Hagrid!
It's probably easy to tell by now, but I do not recommend this game to anyone. The game looks fine, but it's not fun to play, and it's just a tedious experience to get through. The Kinect challenges are fun, but not worth the headache you'll get from the main game. For now, I'd save your money and go buy a ticket to the movie instead. For more on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, head on over to IGN.com.